We're going to talk about the economy of the future, the economy that is now, the economy we dream. The idea that came to me for the way the world can reflect the purity of the human spirit and the system we can work with that is possible to integrate with the technology which we have today. The technology of the internet, the technology of our interconnective culture, so that we can appreciate the differences between cultures and we can create a universal intelligence. This is the idea. For universal intelligence, everybody has to have access. Universal intelligence is transparent. Universal intelligence is also open for the possibility of individual progressive independence at a grassroots level, from the ground up. So we're not talking about a system that is in any way trying to capitalize, centralize, or impose upon a hierarchy of values in any kind of geographical or demographical way. We're talking about a system which is simply an interconnective reflectivity. And this system will work based on currency. Currency is money.
Currency?
Currency is the financial unit, the financial tool, the instrument of exchange where there is number, quantification. There is a quantification involved with the exchange between cultures, between people, between whoever wants to use it. Yes? And
can you give a synonym of this word?
The word? Which word?
This
Currency is money.
is money.
Simply. But currency is a meaning which is deeper. Currency holds a meaning that is deeper than money, because currency depicts the nature of what money actually is. It's a current, like electricity or water.
Oh, corriente.
So, currency is important because it gives a quantification. Quantification in a logical, mathematical way. This is the blood of the intelligence.
The mathematical...
The currency.
The currency.
Currency at the moment is the blood of the economy.
It's the blood of the intelligence and at the same time it's the blood of the economy.
Well, yes. However, I would say that there needs to be a readjustment if our economy is going to find harmony with true intelligence, as it is today. Today in the world we have an economy that is creating destructive energy.
That is not so much intelligent.
And it's not so much intelligent.
What is for you intelligence in this context from universal intelligence?
Universal intelligence, for me, in this context, would be the ability of awareness to have precise observation in the movement of interactive exchange, the way that things are used. So if we have a collective as a family, for example, this family, they will exhibit some form of behavior, and this behavior can be interpreted in many ways by the society. However, if there is a quantum element, then this behavior can be reflected through the numbers of the currency in different areas of society, so that there is a measurable aspect to the observation of awareness. So awareness can be intelligently involved.
If there is if there is no...
Hang on. The awareness, there must be an involvement of awareness with a quantum intelligence. That's the purpose of the idea that I'm in current in the current contact with. The universal intelligence concept is something very deep. We can talk all day about this. The point is that our economy, with a currency, must have a universal intelligence maturity, not a financially functional intention. It must be connected to what is the principle of universal intelligence. At the moment, we see an economy that is connected more to a demographic fashion for enjoyment. It is the imposed belief system of what is happiness. Consumption. Consumption does not equal happiness. This is the pressure of the economy we have now. The economy is pressuring people to be consumers.
What means that? The economy press the people to be consumers. What is the underground from this? What means to be consumer?
It means to wake up in the morning and think primarily about what it is we will feel as pleasure through the external world in terms of material satisfaction, like food, like technology, like books or gadget or some kind of play, like items of manufactured, entertainment, which is somehow the purpose of the culture in the mathematics of the economy we have today, because there is this cycle of non-intelligence, or it's somehow a spiral of exploitation through a mathematical agenda. There is a mathematical agenda because the economy has been centralized. The money is created through a centralized system for the people to use in a controlled way. There is an agenda which creates this underlying purpose of consumption. That's why human beings have a limited prospect to be universally intelligent, because there exists a huge pressure between us. Many people have seen this pressure, but it's too scary to watch this pressure continuously, because we don't have any kind of faith or hope or vision of how we can escape this pressure, or how we can change, or how we can solve this pressure that exists as a driving force in the civilization, in society. So here is this idea now, where we can actually begin to dream logically as to what a world could look like if this pressure did not exist. Most people, maybe they would say there could not be a world if there was not such a pressure, only chaos. But I need to express the purest freedom of the mathematics of universal intelligence as this idea for the economy, because it is absolutely necessary if we want to be free. If we want to be free to enjoy life in its complete beauty. Otherwise, living simply under the agenda of consumerist behavior will bring us not so much happiness in the future. I mean, as time develops, we need to find something more resonant in the circumstance of the spiritual evolution. Our spiritual evolution is inevitable. It has to happen as time happens. So the mathematics is like the clothing of the spiritual evolution. After time, the clothes become worn or disintegrated, or they serve no more purpose. If we're going to go through more of a jungle with more interesting animals, then we need to have different kinds of clothes compared to the clothes we have had living in a desert. It's different. It's a different environment, spiritually speaking. So the economic environment must also have this evolution to represent the spiritual evolution, and that is what universal intelligence really is. It's the movement of the conscious freedom. The conscious freedom can be embodied by any human being. Any human being can be truly synchronized with universal intelligence. However, when we are living in this pressurized context of consumer behavior, because of the mathematics of the blood of the economy, the currency, we don't have the possibility to do this. Because every day we are again in the rhythm of this vortex. And it is a vortex because there is a center, and that center is where the money is created, and that center emits the structure for the movement. So we won't need to talk so much about the current mathematics of the economy. I want to suggest a new mathematics for a global economy that can liberate the independence of autonomous culture and at the same time unify the whole human collective, the whole family of sentient consciousness, including animals of the wild, including every sentient species, not only human beings, because this is an ecological perspective of how an economy can function, not a commercial, not some kind of industrial focus for creating safety. You see, in our history, we have been very much we've been motivated by creating safety. This has been the priority, to create safety for people. So once that has been achieved, we've prioritized on creating comfort with different kinds of furniture and different machines that can take care of things, so we have more time. And so now we have all of these things, but there are many problems which exist nonetheless, and we continue to try and expand in this mentality, but we have to stop and reanalyze this scenario, and actually we have to optimize the current situation, because we have enough things, we have enough material objects for people to be comfortable and safe and comfortable together. So what we need to do really is slow down this energy of expansive industrial growth in the civilized world, and we need to focus on optimizing the civilized world, which actually comes down to our behavior as individuals, consciously speaking. That's the first step.
Okay, moment.
Then
This reducing of this expansion and optimize, it could be this on-growth movement that I have told you.
exactly, yes. There have been many voices which have been communicating this need for people to realize
So,
in many movements.
So always expanding is not more possible. It's not natural. Also, it's not intelligent.
Well, rather than ungrowth, I mean, it could be interpreted as meaning to get smaller. Instead of becoming smaller, I think we just need to recalibrate the rhythm of expansion so we have time to optimize what has happened already. Because if we continue in the same rhythm as we are needed currently to expand in the debt-based monetary system to cover the interest rates and all of the other kinds of financial burdens that nations carry, then we won't have any freedom to actually optimize what's going on. So yes, ungrowth in the sense of really bringing down the tempo of the expansion so that we can look to the center and optimize. Wherever this center may be, it might be within our own hearts, it might be in the municipality of a town where there is a need for a different kind of infrastructure. And this is actually where my vision is very much focused, in the type of infrastructure we can design with the current technology and with the current the current system of administration that we have. Because we do have offices, we do have bureaucratic or organized systems that exist, and we can work with the existing system to make an optimization. Instead of starting from zero, we can actually optimize what we have.
Do you think that it's possible to starting from zero?
Of course, it always is, but I don't think it's favorable. I don't think it's desirable.
First step, if I have good understand, is minimize to optimize. No, how do you say? Minimizar la expansión para optimizar.
Yes, on an individual level, we need to consider our behavior seriously as consumers in order to slow down the tempo of expansion. And
the key word is optimize.
And optimize the methodology by which we create meaning. The way we create meaning to the principles of life through our existence. So here's the problem in this scenario, in this situation. Anybody who is using money is under this pressure because this money is a symbolic trigger. It creates a vibration in the subconscious mind. It's just how numbers work. Unfortunately, this is something which is very difficult to identify, never mind liberate from. And the studies which I had the privilege of undertaking when I was younger in my university years were preparing me for the schematographical change of the economy itself, actually from within the center of the financial system. The law of how money is created needs to be imperatively considered as a functional initiation for the entire civilized world. The way that money is created is the very first instant as to where the energy of civilization is created. And the way that this new global economy will work that I foresee in the dreams of the dream. I have a very it's sort of a optimistic view of this, but I believe it's inevitable at the same time that the way we will take civilization to the next phase of existence is by aligning currency to the needs of people.
Could you repeat?
We must reflect the creation of currency through the necessity of a human being.
The real necessity.
Exactly.
No.
The fundamental, the actual basic needs of people.
That is the second principle. Could you repeat, please?
Yes. The money that we use in the world will be created through direct fulfillment of basic needs of people.
How we can say in a simple sentence? The money?
I don't know, money created for the needs, for fulfilling human needs. Money created to fulfill human needs.
To fulfill.
For example, food, water, shelter, all of the very basic human needs.
Humans and living beings.
Living beings as well. We could surely, yes, we can optimize this definition.
Beings.
So it's.
So I must translate in Spanish. Create and use the money according to the.
So the currency must be created into existence for the fulfillment of human needs.
Okay, I must translate.
Animals, I don't know if, animals, it's difficult to try and fulfill animals' needs as a human being because nature already does that if we allow nature to do that. So it's more of a non-intervention philosophy that
As do you feel? This is your.
Yeah, I would like to think more about that. I would like to take that more into contemplation. Beings. For now, money is created directly to fulfill the needs of people, and animals can be people, of course.
Needs of.
Actually, animals are people. I consider animals as people. So money is created to fulfill the needs of people. This is the direct initiation.
That is in a future.
This is actually
because now it's not in this way.
Now it's not. Money is created by the promise of a person to return it. That's how it's created at the moment. It's an exchange of a promise to return whatever is being taken that is actually made from nothing. And that's why there is a trick going on. There's unjustifiable manipulation, which people have not been aware of until now. So the money which is created to fulfill people's needs will inevitably become circulated in any kind of open-ended manner. It can be done for something which is not needed, of course. Money should never be limited to be used only for human needs, but it should be created to satisfy human needs.
How do you put limits in this creation, in this money creation? How do you minimize the expansion of this of the money and to direct to this really fulfill to how do you see this transition? Because now is while use and creation of the money, there is no really values and direction.
We need to have the finely tuned awareness of how to transition from the economy now into the economy of value. It's a value-based economy that we're talking about. I believe that can happen if we begin tomorrow to create money to feed people. So we would give money to the people who grow food or supply some form of good nourishment.
Not to feed, but to to help to grow and to
Yeah, that's what I mean. To
self-development.
produce food for people, there can be specific projects. There can be a number of projects created that will function in this way, where they receive money created directly from a government structure. It has to be from an existing government structure in order for it to be accepted and legitimized, with the purpose of providing for people a basic needs necessity. It's a form of sustenance, which is to fulfill the basic need of people, and these people will be receiving an unconditional income. You know, the basic income initiative.
Could be the third point that I can.
Let's take things one step at a time. The 2 points you brought up for me were the transition and also the way we would regulate the currency, which otherwise would expand infinitely and create the inflation effect. So there is an input of currency which is created for the fulfillment of basic needs. It goes directly to the producers, the people who are in employment for the fulfillment of basic needs. That includes teachers in schools, construction workers, cleaners, the growers, and the healthcare workers. I think I boiled it down to 7 or 8 different
and how do you say
different aspects.
In resume, all these as third. I try to make a synthesis from what you say.
The what?
So first, this need to optimize. Second,
need to optimize.
Same. So to reduce the expansion to optimize. Second,
And
the currency of the
expansion.
money is created to fulfill of the human or the needs of the human beings. Third, so is all what you are saying now with the school, and all the, so how could be said with a simple sentence?
Oh, you want me to say everything in one sentence?
No, but because
I'm
if
trying.
not, I am done. If not, I will have a lot of sentences, but not the dispersion.
Yeah, well, okay. The picture.
vision.
I need to have the ability to portray the picture, and then we can piece it together in a way which would be cohesive. So the currency created to fulfill human basic needs will be done so by a transparent body, a committee which is administrating the information of the community, instead of a bank that has a private agenda.
Okay,
This is an important factor to the
that is important
mechanism.
Transparency.
There's a central intelligence hub where the people of the community have a direct contact whenever they want through internet or even in person if they want to go there and talk. And there is a group of volunteers who are trained specially to use this computer system, which is receiving the information from society. So there could be a group here which has reported a problem with a lamp on the street or something which is not working. Yeah, they send this information with the phone, and they say this place is like this. These guys, they create money to pay somebody to go and fix this light. They create it from zero because there is a need. There is a need here. So they pay somebody from zero, and that is a representation of like a heartbeat response. When there's a need, there's a fulfillment, and this money is then into the system which represents there was a fulfillment of the need, which was reported.
That you are joining now the two.
And there can be other people who are saying, we noticed that the kids in school are not very happy. Maybe there are too many kids in this school, which means there must be a big school,
That is a
another
good
school made.
example from this second principle, no? That the currency of the money is created according to the fulfillment of the
Yes,
human's needs.
it's very important to have a transparent and autonomous governmental committee here, which is not, it's not a party in power or anything. It's not like a financial institution. It's just some people operating on a computer system who are
You have said transparency, autonomous government. That is for create this this directly. Okay.
So yes, and this information here can be shared from one city and recorded into the national database, you know. And aside from the basic needs, there must also be an aspect of entrepreneurial possibility. This is what banks...
Entrepreneurial?
Yes, the financial institutions originally exist to give the business people of the world a chance to do something, yeah, by giving them loans. But they became the influential... they became the controllers of the money system eventually because people fell asleep, basically. So there cannot be an elimination of the banks, even if many people would love to see this. We have to give the banks the correct place. And that is to fulfill the entrepreneurial possibility. If somebody has an idea, they should be able to go there and say, look, I want to try and do this, so I need some money. So they won't get the money from the basic needs because they want to do something creative. They go to the creative place to get the money. And this place, the bank, has to have an agreement with where the money is created from, which is the transparent committee. They take a figure every year, for example, with which they can make business, and they have interest from the business they make, like a traditional bank would work. For example, I want to make new shoes which have more stylish kind of appearance and materials which I know somebody has produced, and then I go here and I say I want to try this idea, and I make it with the loan money, and if I'm successful I can pay back the loan money and I have made a profit and I'm happy. And this it expands our community and it creates competition.
So in any way, so the bank is not in the center; it's is put aside in a right function.
Yeah, it's more like here actually. It's more like on the outside of the center.
Liberate the center of the untransparency and the.
Yes, so the center gives money directly and transparently to both the people who need it.
That's a good idea because.
And the banks who can filter it to entrepreneurs. There are two mechanisms for the money distribution. The first one is the direct distribution to the need, and the second one is the capitalistic one, if you wish.
Yeah, it's to put two mechanisms as transition.
Yeah.
How do you see, and how do you think that it's possible to achieve this transparency and autonomy?
So initially...
The idea is very nice, but
initially it's very easy. It
point?
is actually quite easy. There must be a new kind of... what's it called? A new branch of government? No. A new component of government created. Yeah, a new component of government must be created, which is given the full responsibility of creating money. And at the same time, there has to be a virtual access grid, like a network, which is created for everybody who has a participation in the community to have the chance to go and explore. So there has to be a record created for everybody, and there has to be a communication server.
Yeah, but a step before.
Yeah.
Look at the situation now, worldly situation, and here's your idea, or the idea that you are presented now.
Yes.
How to do the first step?
First step is to give responsibility to a new component of government to create money in accordance to the needs of people. And it's literally that easy.
Is an international accord?
Oh, if you want to talk globally or nationally, I don't know. I would start globally, for sure. I would say there has to be a worldwide openness for this new component to present itself to the future of civilization on a worldwide scale, or it can be trialed in a specific geographic location, a small country. It can be introduced, even in Great Britain.
And
there can be,
slowly.
And then different countries can introduce their own component, which is creating money for. It's like the basic need initiative, but this has the hardware. The basic need income is a software, which is great. But if it's on the old hardware, it's not really going to solve any problems. It's just going to change the way things are flowing in the old mechanism. The control network will still be the same, you know. The hardware which we need to implement with the basic need. So everybody gets 500 euros per month, for example.
This idea is yours, or you have read?
No, I've thought of it. I came up with it. I downloaded it. One day it just struck me, you know. It hit me that the money needs to be created from a transparent component of government, which then has to circulate, and it needs the final thing, which is actually this has been spoken about by different groups, but the one final thing that came with my idea was that it needs to have an exit point. So it needs to return to zero, because if we just create money, it's going to just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it will lose value mathematically. But if we have an exit point for currency, so if I spend 10 euros on potatoes and fruit, I spend this money in a place where they are providing food for the people on a basic need level, then I will spend this money into zero. It must be nullified. It must be destroyed, and that can only happen when we have physical locations where people can spend money that will disappear, essentially. These physical locations can be like a specific brand of supermarket that is working in the network of the basic need infrastructure for people. Or it can be for specific products. So if I go now into Dia, you know, the Spanish supermarket Dia, there can be certain products which when I buy them, that money will disappear. And that is sort of like introducing a new skeleton in the economy, where money can be nullified in the basic need acquisition.
Have you heard about the social money?
Yes, I've heard about
the networks of the social money, different kinds
of money which are created locally. Yep, I've heard about that. But I'm talking about actually changing the mechanism of the existing currencies, like the euro, dollar, pound, the infrastructure behind that. Because if we just keep introducing new types of currencies, it's not going to work, because people, they find it very difficult to switch.
But it's not for this reason that I remember. So, but it's only because in this social money, the final account must be zero. That means they are not accumulating. So the money is only a currency to realize your needs, individual and
it needs to move.
Needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's
well, we're not aiming for zero. We just need to have the possibility for zero.
It's very important.
Otherwise,
the point of fuga.
There is this unfair wealth distribution and accumulation, which happens, and also people who are saving their money for 10 years. After 10 years, it's half of the value. It's just unfair.
But in this central point, that is full of transparency and autonomic government, no? And only for these needs, really real needs of the human being, here in this point must be possible to create the money.
That's where it's created.
It's not that we are managed, you are creating.
That's where it's absolutely created.
How is possible to create the money outside the financial...
well, that's why law has to be made.
Law?
A new look of the law, so that we change the law. Who is...
Law
is legislation.
Okay.
The legislation at the moment permits financial institutions, private financial institutions, to make the flow of currency what it is. And that is a huge mistake.
Okay, that is the fourth element, the law.
Law
Without changing.
has to be addressed and adapted to allow only the central component, which represents the needs of the people and the universal intelligence, to be in harmony for currency generation. And the financial entities are subsidiary, they are secondary to this. They create a movement of entrepreneurial endeavor. So they encourage people to be original and ingenuitive, but not for the sake of survival. Not on the level of fight or flight. Not on the instinct, not on the primal spectrum of emotional. Not on the fundamental need for security. It can't be the leverage point. The leverage point has to be more on an ingenuitive level, on a creative inspiration. So when we have that kind of flow, people will find space to basically know who they are, to celebrate their own talent, instead of being forced to do something in order to survive. Because a human being is a being, not a human doing. It's one of my favorite quotes. The human being is a human being, which means we must first understand what it is to be and be patient enough to feel the natural essence of our spirit, of our heart, of our drive, the motivation. And our parents have been giving us a lot of sacrifice. That they've been sacrificing our being so that we learn to do in order to survive. But it's no longer the case. I mean, it hasn't been the case for a very long time, actually. We can be very happy in the freedom of universal intelligence without economic pressure. And this is actually one of the things which is most important to appreciate: the abundance, the natural abundance of nature. When we are responsible in our consumption, nature is abundant. And I'm basing this whole idea on a world where we are no longer exploiting any sentient beings. Basically, it would be a vegan world. It would be a world where we're only enjoying plants instead of the flesh of corpses and excrements from bodies. So it would be a non-violent relationship with nature.
That means that is one.
That means that there would be abundance. that means there would be more food than everybody could ever want. That means that it would not be any kind of problem for people to relax and find the creative essence. And that's actually one of the most important things to remember. And I could share with you what I learned in business school in my university years, that there is a false scarcity. Right now in the economy, there's a false scarcity. This means that they are limiting the production of food so that there is a way to sell it. They have to force. They're actually throwing away 1/3 of all of the fruits and vegetables so that they can keep the prices what they are. There's a false scarcity. People are programmed to believe that in the world there is a scarcity, which means we have to fight for food and basic things.
But this is the civilizatory paradigm,
Pardon?
not cultural civilization.
Yeah, that's an economic side effect. It's only because the money is still controlled by some private entity that this has to be instilled. Otherwise, the reality, if we see it for what it is an abundant one. That's why this model is possible. And like I said before, it doesn't go without our consumerist evolution into a non-violent relationship with nature. So we cannot expect everybody to continue or to increase the lifestyle habits, their addictions to these substances which are unhealthy, the blood-based consumer products which are out there at the moment, many of which, are subsidized by the government. Taxpayers' money right now is going to create a market for animal products. If the government stopped subsidizing animal agriculture, not many people would be able to buy these products. So the money we're paying to the government right now in tax is actually creating this exploitation in a way. And we have to fight to stop this kind of nonsense also. We have to stand up and
but the question for me is
express
why?
this.
Not why. How? How? It's possible to change. How is possible? So we have the idea, the vision. Okay. Then we began to step in this direction. How we do the first step, the second step, the third. So how we achieve slowly, or suddenly, it doesn't matter. But
it needs
really,
to be a combined effort from people, from different cultures, from every angle, from every spectrum of the current economy. In London right now there's a group called Positive Money who are actually quite successful in lobbying the policy makers, the current political community and the Bank of England to talk about sovereign money. And that's what this is basically. Sovereign money is
sovereign?
It's a non-corporate created currency. Yes, it's on the same intention as this idea here, to have a component of government which is creating money in full transparency. But it doesn't.
It is created in London. Or in
there is a huge there's a huge initiative and effort in this direction. Not only in London, but in many other countries as well. It's being organized.
This world is very calm on these ideas.
Yeah, and that is happening because people are more aware of how it's possible and why it should happen. Actually, why it should happen. How it's possible is a difficult question, because you can look at it from many different perspectives and see that it is very difficult. Essentially, I think it's a natural progress, a natural step of development for the reflection of the spiritual state that
Could you
we
imagine
are embracing.
what process would be happen with the la bolsa? How do you say la bolsa? Wall Street and so on. And could you imagine a process from now to another point where it's not so, or that is transforming in another tool?
The financial cartel, the stock market. The stock markets.
I don't know how it's in English. The Wall Street and
Yes.
all these things.
They're called
eBay.
stock markets. It's where there are stocks of companies being traded.
Because they are abstract money who are moving all the time.
And bonds and, well, that has to have a revamp because it's like a big casino and it creates an energy which is not very grounded at all. It's an opportunistic playground where there is no connection to the reality of what's happening behind all of those trades. So it's something that is just an extreme symptom of the central problem we have in the economy, which is that the currency is generated by an entity which is controlling, not by an entity which is serving.
Mm-hmm. That is a good controlling but not serving.
It's yes, it's not an unconditional.
But I think it's important to use our imaginary to move the ideas and the things that happen now in another point, but not in the pessimistic way. So think about Wall Street in 10 years began and then you put because through the imaginary energy we can move things.
Yeah.
If people say no, we are so it's impossible to do nothing, this imaginary and this feeling feed what are you criticize and you are so still no.
This is true.
It's important to
I just
to
had a
use
nice vision.
This creativity.
For Wall Street, I can imagine a whole community of people who celebrate the beauty of pioneership, of people and groups who are willing to invest their lives into making something new that is beautiful. And they can award them, they can be somehow the audience of this.
Like the bank that you put not in the central but in the
so
same.
Then here, yes, there would be the stock market, yeah.
And the function, and a new function of all this.
It is observing the banks and the pioneers, and they are generating some kind of dynamic celebration through the investments. Yeah, that can be interesting. Very nice idea. I hadn't thought about Wall Street so much, to be honest.
No, because it's afraid. we thought
it's a very strange place. It's a very strange place.
I think it's using the imagination to bring the things away, and there are little seeds, no? But maybe all this darkness, all these need a little ideas to move directions, no? To possibilities, no? To open the possibilities.
This is exactly This is very. This is exactly why I'm optimistic, and I think the more we dream of the solution to the challenges we have in a very logical and deeply emotional way, then we can open this magnetic field.
For example, for me to imagine our orange with smell of lasagna is not interesting, but to imagine Wall Street in another way is fully interesting, no? To use the imagination in this way.
Same skill.
No.
It's the same skill.
It's the same skill, but I prefer to use the imagination with this social and really things that are really must to be open in new directions.
That reminds me of the great Anastasia in the book. Have you read Anastasia?
Anastasia?
Yeah, The Ringing Cedars of Russia. Have you read this book?
I have heard about this woman, but I don't know nothing.
In her description of what the imagination is, she says that it's a laser that can manifest something to happen in the real world where we can physically experience it. So anywhere, anytime, any place, you can use the imagination to help somebody who is cutting a salad in a way which is not very enjoyable or satisfying, just to give them this dimensional support, and they can align the aura to that intention and find a more satisfying way to make a salad. Simply, you can just feel that kind of archetypal correspondence in this world we can live. Yeah, it's something that has to be close to what we are experiencing, and something which is in the direction to which we know is evolving, an evolution. The evolving direction for the whole world is anchored in the mathematics of the economy. Yeah, it's true. So the currency is the blood, and if we look at where the currency is coming from, that is actually the heart.
Could you and so the sun is quite there because we are quite an hour.
Almost 1 hour, 3 minutes.
You want to say something else to finish this first session?
Only that when we imagine these things, we can also use the body sensation as a projective grounding, a grounding for the projection, for the body to feel this geometry that is an order, a natural order of abundance and prosperity, with all of the things we've spoken about as principles for the heart to emanate this flow of universal intelligence. Then it's something that we can really taste, we can really internalize and believe and enjoy as something which is happening already now through the own experience, through the experience of our own body. That's something which is very interesting for me as the path from the last few years has given me the understanding of this magic, the magic of the body and the mind together. For universal intelligence. That is what brings the evolution to now and not in the future sometime. To anchor the logic in the feeling of the body in a geometric harmony. And it's beautiful. Thank you so much for giving me this.
Thank you to you.